Hello and welcome to the Dons Trust Election 2024. Meet the candidates. My name is Gary Davis, and in this session we are meeting with James McDonald. Hi, James. So if you can start off, please tell us about yourself and why we should vote for you in 2 minutes.
Okay, hello. First of all, thank you for watching this and taking an active part in our democratic election process. As Gary just said, I'm James McDonald. I'm a current Dons Trust board member. I'm re-standing because I want to continue, I think, the really positive experience that I've had on the board. And there are many things that we've started, but many places that we still need to go. I see the Dons Trust Board as a oversight governance board. It's there not to run the club. I've made that very clear in my manifesto. I'm here to support the club in what it's delivering. I'm not here to deliver. I still think there's work to be done around our secretariat to get that fully established as the Dons Trust. Secondly, as I say in my manifesto, I'm committed to fan ownership. I was a fan from 1978. I was very lucky that my grandfather left me some shares when he died. I went to the AGMs at a young age at Selhurst Park. I saw the trials and tribulations, really, of us leaving Southwest London to go to Buckinghamshire. And I don't ever want to see one person be able to repeat that. So absolutely committed to fan ownership. I'm sure we'll discuss some aspects of that later. I also, excuse me, I also said in my manifesto, I'm really committed to a brilliant learning culture. We have fantastic staff, we have fantastic volunteers, we have fantastic fans with a wide range of skills and experiences that they can bring to this club to help it grow and to help it thrive. Underpinning everything that I think, um, the motto of the club is together we win. And those kind of skills that we talk about are togetherness, resilience, and constant improvement. As a Dons Trust board member, it is a challenge. There has to be some level of resilience, but I think that I've shown that over my term on the board. Togetherness, I think I've been part of a board that's worked really effectively, really collegiately, and delivered some really good deliverables in my time, and constant improvement. This club is fantastic, but we can always get better. So, for those reasons, I'm standing again, and I very much hope that you will decide to vote for me.
Thank you, James. So now I'm going to move on to the 5 questions that we're asking all candidates,
Mhm.
and you have 2 minutes to answer each. So question number one, with the accounts for 2024, I think due out shortly, what would your strategy be to plug the club's annual losses of ranging in the region of 1 to 2 million per year?
I think the first thing is that the Wimbledon that I've known and loved has always been a developmental club. I think we have to accept that there will be the need for player sales. So that is always going to help plug the gap. I mean, the Ali sale last year was brilliant. I mean, it's the highest ever fee received for a League Two player, beating the fee for Ollie Watkins moving from Exeter to Brentford. So player sales are a necessary part of being a League Two club. I think we all have to accept that. I think on top of that, though, there are revenue streams around the club that we can improve. I think I mentioned it in my manifesto, but the catering contract is an obvious area. Merchandise does extremely well, but can still be improved. But I think underpinning this all is that we have a big debt mountain, namely the Plough Lane bonds that I've got my share of, and I believe that reducing that debt will save us a significant amount on interest payments, and that money can be used to either develop the squad or cover some of those losses. But I think we have to see that a League Two football club in Southwest London is an expensive entity. Last night we played Accrington. I understand their budget is about 1.4 million. Our budget is, a good percentage above that, but the costs of living in Southwest London are much more expensive than Accrington. So we have to accept that running a League Two club in Southwest London is going to be costly. We can drive the revenues from the stadium, we can drive the revenues from player sales, we can drive the revenues from reducing debt.
Okay, thank you, James. Question number 2. If you could change one thing about the Dons Trust, what would it be and why?
I think the one thing that I would change is making sure we're engaged with more members. We have pro boards, which I would like to change because I don't think it does what it says on the tin. I think it is a forum that doesn't encourage many people to engage with the board. We have surveys which are much more effective, and newsletters, and meet the DTB, etc., etc. But I think the one thing that I would change is saying to people that the Dons Trust owns the club. Fundamentally, it owns the club. So we need to hear what you want us to do, your ideas, your ways that you can drive that constant improvement for the club. And I think what we need to do that effectively is engage with more of our members than we are doing so at the moment.
Okay, thank you, James. Question number 3 then. What is your stance on fan ownership, and how do we thrive as a club under the current fan ownership model?
Well, I think my stance is very clear. I want to be a fan-owned club. It's the thing that I adore about the club, that we are that model. I remember back in 2002 when we were playing at Sandhurst away, Mark Chapman said, AFC Wimbledon have got their first game. They are going to be everybody's second favourite club. I mean, I think that is what we are to so many people. Remaining fan owned is non-negotiable for me. I do support the 50.01 proposal. I don't know if that's a future question, but I think that was a sensible move to help us pay off a significant chunk of debt in the future when the right investors come to us. I think that's really, really important, but never go below 50.01. We must always have control. We must always have ownership of the club. I think what we've seen in the last few years since we returned to Plough Lane is that we have a number of high net worth individuals who live locally, who are interested in the club, whose children go to the club. I think that's an obvious way that we can help thrive by using our fan base, using people who are now members of the Dons Trust because their family are season ticket holders, and we can bring some experience and potentially some investment into the club to help us thrive. But I actually think that many of the answers are actually in the stadium on a match day, quite often in the West Stand. So I think it is a case of, as I said in my first answer, widening those discussions with all members and getting people with experience or high net worth on board to help us develop.
Thank you, James. Question number 4 then. How would you describe the trust standing amongst members, and how would you seek to improve that relationship?
I think that's a multifaceted answer, to be quite honest. I think for older members, they would like the trust to maybe have a slightly different purpose, and maybe more to be fan run than fan owned, and be involved in more operational decisions than I think that the Dons Trust board in particular should be. The club is run by very good, very talented people, from our MD and director of football downwards, and we should let them get on and do their job, but make sure that we're asking the right questions to make sure they're accountable and delivering on the KPIs that we set them. I think for a number of people, the Dons Trust is a bit of a neutral organisation. And what I mean by that is people are happy to stay away from some of the politics around it, maybe get involved around election time, maybe get involved in some of the bigger decisions like the one that closed this week. I think we have to acknowledge the fact on that we had more votes in total for those two resolutions than we had members last year. I mean, you know, we should be singing about the fact that 60% of the Dons Trust membership got involved. That's above local elections and only just below a general election. So I think people do get involved when they realise there's a big important decision. I think for a number of our fans, and this includes ones that have been season ticket holders or Dons Trust members for years, or ones that have come on board with the way that we did it this season, the Dons Trust is a kind of a notional body. People know it exists, but don't really know what it does, and that's a bit of a problem, really. One of the things that I did in my early days on the Dons Trust board was set up a 16 to 24 working group. When I morphed onto the PLC board, I handed that responsibility over to Richard Shepherd, who did a brilliant job of developing that. So I think one of the things I really want to see continued is more engagement with our going back to my first comment, people that weren't on board, they may not even been born actually in 2002 when we kind of turned into AFC Wimbledon. But I would really, really like to see a bigger voice, a more prominent voice, a more directional voice from the younger fans, because ultimately I'm in my 50s. I'm not going to be around forever, unfortunately, for some people, fortunately for the majority, I'm sure. But I think getting young people involved to take on the baton would be really, really a good thing. And at the last 16 to 24 meeting, Angus, the chair, actually said to the group, you know, you ought to be the board. So that's what I really would like to see, is more younger people telling us what they want. And that can be a range of things. I mean, their ideas are what you may expect. They'd like more dedicated social areas. They'd like happy hour pricing in the bars before games, all of which can be delivered. You know, we can take those recommendations to the PLC board, to the club staff, and deliver on them. But we need their voice. And I know it's not all about, you know, beer prices, etc. But if they get engaged and they see those changes happening because their voice is being listened to, they're more likely to want to take on a more prominent role in developing the trust in future years.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I was just going to go do the 2 minute, but thank you, James. Last of the 5 questions that we're asking for all candidates, and again, you might want to refer back to your previous question. This overlaps. So, sorry, previous answers. So, do you believe the trust board is elected to make decisions for the members, or elected to listen to members on an ongoing basis? And would you be looking to consult members more or less?
I passionately believe that we are custodians of the club, and our job is definitely to listen to members, but we can't act on everything that members want. But what I would say is that in the last 2 years, we have surveyed members on a whole range of items. The response rate has drifted around the sort of 30 to 35%, which I still think is a healthy number. But we are definitely there to listen to members, to work with members, and to seek what I said in my opening statement. That's how we get the kind of constant improvement, by doing good things for the club. Going back to your first point, we're certainly not there to run the club. We're absolutely not there to run the club.
Thank you, James. So that completes our 5 standard questions. So the last question, which is a question about your manifesto, or something you put in your manifesto that we picked out. So James, in your manifesto, you state, we have a fan base brimming with talent and passion. It would be a great use of our resources to use our fans to create a brilliant learning environment across the club. Would you like to see more work at the club conducted on a volunteer basis? And if so, how do you see that being implemented in practical terms?
Yeah, I mean, I think a brilliant learning environment is exemplified in that kind of togetherness, resilience, and constant improvement that underpin the values of what we're trying to achieve with AFC Wimbledon. I'm a volunteer in this role. Dons Trust board meetings tend to be on a Wednesday evening. Most of the time I can make it in person. Some of the time I make it online. PLC board meetings tend to be on a Thursday. We have a change of those now, so it's one online, one in person, depending on which month it is. So I think traveling on the train down from Nottingham to London is a big commitment, but as a volunteer and as someone that loves the club, I'm more than happy to do it. There are other people with skill sets who may not want to give as much time, but we can support what they can do if they're prepared to give us any time. And that can be anything, really. That can be helping out on club coaches, for example, as a liaison officer, someone that needs safeguarding training. That can be in a whole raft of ways on match days, whether that's helping with programs or golden goal tickets, helping with so many things. But I think what we would really like as a Don's Trust board is the theme groups that we operate, to also have people that aren't members of the board on them. So people that may have expertise in community relations or have expertise in writing copy, have expertise in proofreading, have expertise in, and that's no joke about the recent Don's Trust election mistake, by the way, but have expertise in, the election steering group, people that know how these things work. You guys are doing this as part of your, volunteer role, and it's fantastic, and thank you again for doing it. So I believe many people would like to put time into the club, and the Don's Trust needs to harness those talents that we've got across our fan base, sell the benefits of doing what people can do in terms of how it adds to their CV or how it adds to their skill set, and saying, get involved with the club that you love. So I think there's a massive opportunity to use more of our fan base to deliver on so many aspects of AFC Wimbledon. And the Don's Trust is best placed, I think, to harness those talents, and needs to work a bit harder, a bit differently from maybe how we've done it, with the same people coming back doing the same thing. So there is talent out there. We need to use that talent and therefore create a brilliant learning environment around the club.
Thank you, James. So thank you very much for your time today, James, and all the best with your campaign. So viewers can watch all candidate interviews on our YouTube channel. To vote, members should have a link in their inboxes, and the deadline to vote is December the 3rd. You can find all candidate manifestos at thedonstrust.org. Thank you for watching.